The country is going through a storm. The future looks bleak. The economy is taking a beating. And what is worrying is that countries that have gone through where we are, through this kind of state, have come out beaten, shaken, scratched, and for some of those countries, governments have fallen. As a country, we must put forward our best foot to make sure that we weather this storm. But then, the buck stops with the captain. The captain must bring his skills to bear. The president must therefore, at this time, going forward, only make those decisions that are in the best interest of the country. And that these decisions ought to be bold and firm. That brings me to the VAT Act. The president has been asked by Parliament to accept that we postpone the implementation date of the VAT charged on petroleum products by another 2 years. Instead, the president has reduced the 16% to 8%. Now, this is a kind of lack of firmness that I'm talking about. We are in a state when this kati-kati thing cannot work. You are either on the left or on the right. On the right, the president must henceforth only make firm decisions. Reducing 16 to 18 is not addressing what was put before him. Parliament asked him to agree or refuse to agree and give his reasons for not accepting that we postponed the implementation date. Changing from 16 to 8, Mr. President, is attempting to do the work of Parliament because you require, in my thinking, substantive law to do that. And laws are not made in State House. Laws will be made by Parliament. But that's for another day. Today, I want to say that this country must choose either of the two paths, either of the path presented to itself. We are at crossroads. And as a country, we must choose whether to go left or to go right. If we go left, we remain a third world country within the ambit of the World Bank, with its IMF. We will be people who will care to know what the IMF is saying, what the Paris Club is saying, what the London Club is saying, how the bond market is responding. We will care to know about borrowing. If we choose to remain within that circle, within that model, then we will have to obey what the World Bank says. We will have to listen to what IMF says. And by the way, the percentage, the VAT on petroleum products is just one of the conditionalities, one of the things we will have to do. Soon, we will be forced to retrench people. Soon, we'll be told to devalue our shilling, among a host of other measures that we shall do in order to remain creditworthy, in order to remain a going concern in the thinking of the IMF. So this is a clear path we take. We cannot have our cake and eat it. Either we are in that ambit of IMF and World Bank, we continue to borrow from China, we continue to auction the country, we reach a point where we are slaves, we reach a point where some of our facilities, as in Sri Lanka, as are here in Zambia soon, where some of our facilities, like ports, will have to go to the Chinese. We will continue to borrow and fail to pay the loans. And we shall cede some of our land to the Chinese, in a sense becoming a Chinese colony in the future. That is the path we have to choose. If we choose that, there are no kati-kati things. Let's remain like that. Let it matter to us what IMF says, and we shall do what they say, not kati-kati. The other path is for us to shake ourselves, is for us to agree that the model we have been using for development in Africa cannot work for us. The structural adjustment programs and all other things that have come our way from IMF have never worked. So we can choose to ignore World Bank, IMF and choose a new path. That requires some boldness, some leadership, because this is a paradigm shift. And if the president wants to take us in that direction, he will take certain very practical steps, including doing like what Bashir did in terms of reconstituting government afresh, to bring in men and women who will understand this paradigm shift. We call our lenders, we tell them in the manner of Malaysia, we are going to renegotiate, we are going to reschedule our debts, and we are not taking any more debts. If we choose that radical path, then we will be prepared to go that path and ignore World Bank and IMF. But so long as we are still within their ambit, Mr. President and dear Kenyans, we will have no option but to do what they want us to do. The better option, of course, to me, is we chart a new way of doing things in Africa, where we trade among ourselves as Africans, where we deal with the Chinese and the Americans and the Europeans as equal partners in the market. But so long as we are appendages of these people, we will never develop, we will end up becoming slaves, and while at it, unfortunately, then you must do what they are saying. So that this katikati thing, if you stand in the middle of the road, the matatu from Isili will hit you. So the president ought to make a decision. How does he want to drive this economy? If we remain on the left, do what we are supposed to do. If we stand in the middle of the road, Mr. President, the vehicle will knock us down. You will be knocked down. So choose the path, firmly follow it, and make firm, bold decisions, because these are dangerous times. The country seems to be headed south, and we need our beloved country. We will support you all through, Mr. President.